The season-long championships may be over, but we still have one championship left to decide. And you'd wonder, what is that, Josh? You just said that we've had every other series finished. It's the Endurance Cup. As with this circuit, Crandon International here in Wisconsin, round 10 of the Simracer Coin NASA RallyCross Challenge. This track and Wild West out in Nevada, the off-road tracks with no jokers. As a mini championship within a championship, we saw Simracer Silva sneak away with the victory out in Nevada with that carnage happened behind him. And the only driver within striking distance, and that is the 26 of Magnus Ogenhaug. Once again, we wonder what's going to happen over the next hour here in Wisconsin as we welcome you to live Lights to Flag coverage on the Automotive Sports Network as we finish up this 21st season presented by Simracer Coin, the cryptocurrency made by Simracers for Simracers, and our Simracers will race to own the winner's coin tonight. You can check out simracercoin.org for all of that information on their platform and their vision. Pretty cool platform that we've got partnered here in NASA. A couple things we need to talk about before we get rolling. As you notice, seating starting now. Apex Racing Academy trying to make it 10 wins out of 10 races. No Jake Robertson today, so Simracer Silva is the only driver for that team that could potentially lock up a perfect season. Will we see a new winner? As looking through the practice results here in Wisconsin, Magnus Ogenhaug, 44.748, 2/10 up on his teammate John Dipple. Bodie Cryer, Jason Hook, Marwan Moftad, Travis Seymour, Matt Kingsbury, and our champion-elect Simracer Silva down in 8th. So no Robertson. Simracer was 1 second off in practice thereabouts, but he wasn't running on the worn track, I don't believe. And Phil, throughout this practice session, we ran at Wild West. We also ran at Wild Horse last season. What do you expect today?
I don't know. It's hard to really expect what'll happen to these tracks. They're usually chaotic, and obviously this track has its own little special touch. I don't know what type of start you'd call it, but you're gonna be the land rush start. It's gonna be pretty mental at the start here because we have an 8-car final tonight, and it's gonna be interesting. I think we could see a crash there, to be honest with you, and that's definitely gonna shake things up.
As it looks as though, if I take a look at our grid, we've got 14 cars here today. So determined on what the software does, I think at least there'll be an 8-car final, but it just depends on what the software will do. So 6-lap heat races, obviously no jokers. The top 2 will transfer in. The LCQ will be 5 laps, obviously no jokers. Depending on how many how many LCQs there are, we might have 1 LCQ or 2 that would determine whether it's 1 car per race or 2. And 10 laps, again, depending on cars, 8 or 10 cars, but the final to wrap this season up, as we'll take a look. I know we don't have a graphic yet for this, but points coming in, a 38-point advantage for Simracer Silva over the absent Jake Robertson. That locks up the title for him in the 2020B Simracer Coin NASA RallyCross Challenge. There is a slim margin for Magnus Ogenhaug to get overhauled by Ray Kingsbury, but to be completely honest, with only 14 cars, it'd be very hard to do. I don't even think he can, since everyone's going to be scoring today. Matt Hartley in 5th, Alexei Heikkinen, who only ran 4 races, in 6th. Matt Kingsbury, Commentators, Johannes Vahanen, and John Dipple, the top 10. Constructors' Championship was locked up a while ago. Apex Racing, obviously, with their perfect seasons so far. 351 points over Last Lap Motorsports with 214. They overhauled LRL last week, as the LRL team not present in Phoenix and not present in Daytona. Manufacturers Championship, 207 points over Subaru. Volkswagen has 207 over Subaru's 149, so huge gap there. And the Nations Cup essentially will go to Norway today, as I don't believe there's any other British drivers in the race aside from Robertson. Robertson is not here. And thank you for correcting me on that. As Dipple is, but it's still a 17-point advantage, so a huge gap to make up. So really, Phil, it's just down to the Endurance Cup. And we saw in Wild West, if you survive turn 1, well, it's not like the regular rallycross tracks. You just can't survive turn 1. You have to survive the whole race.
I think if we just go off of qualifying here, I think Magnus definitely has a chance to bring the fight to Sindre for the Endurance Cup, because obviously he's on pole position right now with a minute left in seeding, and Sindre, he's kind of struggling like he was in practice. He's only down in 9th. The Subaru looks really strong here, because the highest Volkswagen is 7th with Savion Ragster,
So Okenhaug 45.196. 7/10 up on John Dipple. And I talked to Magnus earlier in the week. I know we both did. Magnus is so determined to win a race in 2020B after having such a disastrous season, I'd like to think. But I look at the stat book here. I don't think he had too bad of a season. 2nd place in Daytona, 2nd place in Wild West. But just, it did not come together like last season.
Yeah, it's hard to say he had a difficult season when he's 20 points clear of the next person. And the only people who really beat him on a consistent basis were the Apex Academy guys. And he had a chance to beat them at Lucas Oil, and we all know how that turned out. But a bit unfortunate for him there. But he's definitely had the pace to challenge for wins, just hasn't been able to close the deal out sometimes.
As we take a look, once the format updates, I do believe we are going to have only 3 heats tonight, so it will be an 8-car final, and then it looks as though C main, B main, and the feature. As we get ready for heat number 1, Magnus Okenhaug on pole position, Jason Hook, Savion Ragster, Marwan Moftat, Diane Feldman will be our grid. Let's see if we've got anyone that's gridded up here. And we do. All of our cars gridded up here for heat number 1. It is a land rush start, just like the Stadium Super Trucks, and we've never had this before in the NASA RallyCross Challenge. As we drop the green flag for heat 1, Magnus on the left-hand side of the screen, running into the first corner, jumping through the grass, and Jason Hook in 2nd. In 3rd, Marwan Moftat, looks like Savion Ragster, Diane Feldman, clean through the start as we cross the first jump here into turn 1. Magnus way over the jump in car number 26. I haven't seen cars in anger here, only watched them in practice, and I'm already stunned with what I'm seeing.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to watch these cars, quite frankly, yeeted over that first jump there. The amount of air that Magnus got, if these were real cars, his back would definitely be feeling that, because, oh my god, he got some serious air there. But he's going to be looking to build a solid lead here, and hopefully just get into the final, easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
Pulling away, Hook battling with Moftat. Moftat, the former race winner in the NASA RallyCross Challenge. We mentioned that before. We end the first lap here in Crandon, and Magnus Okenhaug 1.2 seconds ahead of Jason Hook. Marwan Moftat getting close to him as well. So the Australian versus the Egyptian here. The Digital Global Racing Squad ahead of the Academia de Ultimo Giro squad. And no news about those LLM cars and the AUG cars. Remember the junior team alliance between those guys. There were 8 drivers that started the season. I don't think we had a lot of them. A reverse entry for Marwan there into turn 2.
Yeah, he'll get some style points for that, but I don't think it was that quick, quite frankly, as Ragster's going to try to find a way past him here over the jump. And he does clear him.
Breaking the 4th wall, as much as I hate to do it, obviously we're not real racing, so we can't say, oh, a big team can pick him up. But Savion Ragster, if we act like it is for a moment, I think he has to be the hottest free agent going into 2021A. The pace that I've seen that he's shown over these last couple of weeks, outstanding.
Yeah, I think if he can just clean up his incidents a bit and hopefully not end the season on negative points like he might do this season, he'll definitely get picked up by a pretty decent team depending on the car. He might want to stick with the Beetle, and if you're in the Beetle, your options are pretty slim. Maybe you can go on the Apex Academy for all you know. But yeah, he's had a pretty solid season pace-wise, and he's just gotten stronger as it's gone on.
I think Hook is staying within a couple of tenths of Magnus Okenhaug in the 26. As we focus on our race lead, Hook got really close in the 137. Ragster and Moftat battling for 3rd. Hook on the inside of Magnus really wide in the first corner. Actually, it's really hard to figure out what the first corner is. It's a lot like Daytona. First corner after the start-finish line, but first corner after the grid. Hook battling with Magnus here last lap. He was 0.8 of a second up on the Norwegian.
Yeah, I think Magnus is feeling the pressure, even though he had that gap.
Into the wall goes Magnus, over is the 26!
Commentators curse, right? As I said, he's feeling pressure, he bins it. I'm sorry, Magnus, buddy, but Jason Hoek leading the race now. That's not a face that's ran many races in NASA RallyCross, so it's really nice to see a new face leading a race.
This is going to get interesting, Phil. With 2 laps to go, Magnus can still catch Hook. He gets by Ragster for the transfer spot. Ragster pips the 26 there into a slide, and Magnus Okenhaug, making me trip up over my words, back from 2nd to 4th again.
We have commentator cursed him again, right? Right as you say, he has a chance to get Hook. He gets tagged by Ragster and he's around, and I feel like that's going to lock him out of a chance at making winning this heat. He might still be able to transfer. We know the pace in that 26 car is absolutely crazy, as shown by qualifying.
Ragster now smells blood on Jason Hook in the 137. Getting close. Mofta, if anything goes wrong, can take that spot. And Magnus, fuming in that helmet, dives it into the final corner, sends Marwan nearly into the 91 of Ragster. White flag for Jason Hook as we go into turn 1. This is getting very spicy for the transfer spot, and we don't even know if that's going to be for the race win, because anything can happen, and NASA usually does.
I'd watch this battle between Ragster and Okenhaug. I feel like Okenhaug, he's definitely not too happy with the driver of the 91. I can smell a send coming from him for some reason. My send signals are tingling.
We remember the championship battle between him and Hartley last season in Sonoma, how he sent it. He's going to try it again. Nearly hits the tires there. Mofta tries to do it. I don't know what's going to happen in this final corner, but we know that it's just like Wild Horse. You can dive it into the corner, park the car on the apex, and make something happen. To the inside, Magnus on Sabian Ragster. Doesn't get it done. Hook wins Heat 1. Ragster transfers, and Magnus, Mofta, and Diane Feldman to the LCQ here in Wisconsin. What a race.
Yeah, Magnus, he has to be really disappointed with that. He had pole. He got pole in seating. It was a really dominant pole position as well, and to not transfer in the first heat, it's a big blow to his race as a whole. I mean, obviously we have the land rush start, but still, you want to kind of assert your dominance on the grid by winning your heat by a commanding fashion like he did in qualifying, and he wasn't able to do that.
So what's interesting with this, off camera, I saw a little bit of, obviously with cars you can't really exchange words, but car body language. Mofta and Magnus kind of bumped each other, so we'll have to see what happens there throughout the event. Heat number 2, John Dipple, Ray Kingsbury, Adam Rosales, Jeff Mathis, one of our newcomers, and Tim Brokaw, as Mathis actually registered for the GT America series that will start next week here on the Automotive Sports Network, so tune in. I want to say a little bit earlier time slot than we are here. It won't be me, I don't think. I'll be in the car, so it'll be Victor Valley, Travis Seymour, but that's a week away. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Heat 2 in Wisconsin. Green flag off the line. Brokaw got a little bit better start than Mathis, but they smoked the Subarus off the line. Volkswagen versus Ford. Dipple does not hit the bumps like they do, as Kingsbury gets nearly hit by Mathis into turn 1. Nearly onto the track now. Nearly contact with Mathis and Kingsbury over the jump as we enter the first corner of the race. Dipple, huge lead over Kingsbury. Mathis on the outside of Kingsbury, and Rosales to the inside of both of them. Brokaw gets by the 172 contact. Nearly between Brokaw and Mathis gets turned. As Kingsbury survived that, I thought they were going to wreck for certain in turn 1.
I know he was loving that. John Dipple was loving all that battling behind him, because it's allowed him to build a healthy lead, but as was shown in Heat 1, no lead is safe. His teammate Okenhaug proved that for us, and we'll have to see what Ray can do if he can get away from Rosales a bit and maybe apply the pressure to Dipple here.
In the first lap here in Wisconsin, Dipple ahead of Kingsbury, ahead of Rosales, as we focus on Dipple, try and pick up Kingsbury, battling with Rosales here for the second spot. As Kingsbury, Rosales got really close in turn 1. He's going to try it again in turn 2. And I'll tell you what, these endurance tracks, it was funny. I talked to Sindre Silva before the driver's race. Nearly landed on top of him was Rosales. I talked to Sindre Silva before the race. He said he didn't like racing at these tracks. But I had to combat him by saying, this is NASA RallyCross heritage. I know you'll remember those races we used to run on Island Rally in Riverside, and it's something that is just unique to the series.
Yeah, I'd love to say I was fond of him, but I never did too well with him. I've not done too well in these races either, obviously. I didn't make the final last season at Wild West, and then got DQ'd at Wild Horse, I believe. As Rosales tries to go for a send on Kingsbury there. He's really putting the pressure on Kingsbury here, which it's really nice to see, because Rosales, he's another one of those drivers who's just steadily gotten quicker as the season's gone on, and he could put himself in a position to make another final here.
As Dipple loves this, his gap 2.8 seconds. We really only have to focus on Rosales and Kingsbury. The inside, Rosales tried it, but he had to lock up the brakes. Otherwise, he was going to hit that dirt there. the grass rather, Josh. The whole track is dirt. As we focus, at least I'm looking at Jeff Mathis, his first start, not doing too bad. He is in 4th, of course, but he has kept it on the road, and that was his goal, as I talked to him before the drivers' meeting as well. Cross flags in Wisconsin. Running order has not changed. Dipple, Kingsbury, Rosales, Mathis, and Brokaw in the 903 and 5th. So once again, bad luck for the American in the Ford Focus, or Fiesta, sorry.
Yeah, Brokaw's had a pretty up and down season. He did have some really good luck in Sonoma and Iowa, I believe. He made the final in both those races, but outside of that, it's been a bit of a struggle for him. But obviously, the Fiesta, the LLM guys don't think it's the best car, as we see Rosales almost fly off the screen there. The LLM guys didn't think the Fiesta was one of the good cars, so they switched to the Subaru this season. And we'll have to see if Brokaw sticks with it for 2021A.
Dipple still leads. That has not changed. The gap has grown to, it was 3.1. Now it's 3.8. The gap is another second back to Rosales. He's trying so hard to catch Kingsbury. I'm loving this, but Rosales might be overdriving that car. It's a very fine line. I know you and I know this. Very fine line between going fast and overdriving in these rally cars.
Yeah, you can see Rosales. He's pouring his heart into this here, but he's making too many mistakes. He's trying to push the car 110% when you can only go 100%. And it's honestly, in the end of it's costing him time, because he's been running wide like these past 4 corners. And I really think he has a chance at Kingsbury if he just keeps it on the optimal line.
As white flag for Dipple in the 34. He's trying to get a consolation prize for the LRL squad. It's him and Okenhaug for that team today. And Kingsbury trying to hold the banner for LLM and make it into the final. What a season that we've had so far. Obviously, we're nowhere close to being done tonight, but even with all the Apex domination, this season, one for the ages in the NASA Rallycross Challenge.
Yeah, no, we might be breaking more records if Sinjay Silva manages to win this race tonight. Obviously, the Apex Academy's won 9 races this season. Let's see if they can make it 10. As John Dipple wins heat number 2, commandingly over Ray Kingsbury, showing Okenhaug how it's done.
Final corner, like you mentioned, Dipple wins the heat race, does not get taken out like his teammate did, and Kingsbury is going to hold off Rosales. Great run for Rosales. Tried so hard to catch the 25, but it was not to be. Jeff Mathis in the 172 will come home in 4th, and the 903 of Tim Brokaw. And that Digital Global Racing squad with him and Feldman, they were struggling all evening long so far.
I think we got to give a big round of applause to Jeff Mathis. I think this is maybe the first time he stepped foot in one of these rallycross cars, and to finish ahead of someone in your first time in one of these cars, that's impressive no matter how you put it. Props to him.
Heat number 3, the final heat here in Wisconsin. Remember, we only have 3 heats, so that would be 8 cars in the final tonight. But of course, during our warm-up little step away that I do, I will of course try and chat with Ray Kingsbury. We'll figure out what we're doing there. So we have Bodie Cryer in the 92, Matt Kingsbury, champion-elect Sinjay Silva, and Travis Seymour getting ready for heat number 3 in Wisconsin. Let's see who gets a better run off the line as we go racing in Wisconsin. Off the line, Sinjay got the better hole shot, but I think he's going to get hit by the dirt. He is, as Bodie Cryer will lead us out of the land rush, starting lap number 1. Sinjay gets charged by Matt, and Sinjay, the champion-elect, out of the race lead, out of second, as Cryer leads ahead of Kingsbury, Seymour, and Silva now on the back foot.
Yeah, that's not what Sinjay wanted, but I'm not sure he's too worried about it. Obviously, champion-elect and all. He's just looking to have some fun tonight, and we'll see if he can catch up to Seymour and Kingsbury and maybe put himself in this final here if he's going to have to go to the LCQ. But just a quick note real quick, Bodie Cryer, he's been really impressive this race. He qualified 3rd, obviously. That's why he got pulled for this heat, and looks like he's pulling away pretty well as well.
As Cryer in the 92 ahead of Kingsbury as we end the first lap. Seymour in the 144 nearly pushes it out wide there. And Sinjay in the 63. We'll have to see if he has the pace on these guys in the Volkswagen like he did all season, but I'm not too sure. I didn't see it in practice.
Didn't see it in qualifying either, but maybe he's waiting to pull that rabbit out of the hat, just show everyone who's boss in his heat, but we'll have to see.
I mean, we saw in Wild West how we all talked about the Apex cars, right? Slow, off pace, and here they are in Wild West. Aside from Magnus splitting them, they were a double podium again. So I'm expecting nothing but something like that from the Norwegian, but he's got a lot to make up here, and he might have to go through the LCQ to get it done. As Cryer ahead of Kingsbury, gap is 0.7 of a second at that last lap, and Seymour might be holding up Sindre here. Sindre to the inside, fastest lap, fastest man on the circuit, 46.317. And then we talk about the other drivers. It was a 3.43 and a 3.63, so it was half a tenth of a second that he was fastest by. That's not a lot, but it's still a little bit of a gap.
Yeah, but it's not enough to catch Kingsbury and Cryer unless they get caught up in a battle here, as it looks like they might, because Kingsbury's really catching him on this lap. Sent it over the jump, and he might go for the crossover here.
What a crossover in the 21 as we take cross flags. Cryer gets nudged by the 21 of Kingsbury. Kingsbury wants to get something done here. Silva, half a second faster than Cryer, 45.9. He gets by Seymour in the 144. He sets his sights on these two Subarus battling, and he's got 2.5 laps to get it done. As we thank Victor Valley, our director, in our ears, giving us those lap time updates. Cryer defending from Kingsbury into turn 3, pushes it out wide. Kingsbury to the inside, tries to make something happen. Side by side into turn 3, over the jump into the final corner, turn 4. Will Kingsbury be able to make the advantage on him? We look out the back of the 21, focused on Sindre, swinging around to the inside. He takes the lead over Cryer with 2 laps to go.
I don't think Cryer's going to let this go easily. He's going to battle him back here, even though he's been a bit slower over these past few laps. So he looks to the inside. They're going to be side by side. Oh, contact!
Kept it straight. All good racing here in RallyCross. The battle is getting good for the race lead. The gap, actually, Sindre was 0.8 of a second slower. Contact between them for the race lead. Kingsbury, Cryer stops. Good sportsmanship there. Seymour gets hit, and Sindre Silva's the only car to survive in this crash.
Yeah, it was nice of Cryer to stop, but you probably shouldn't stop in the middle of the racing line. Silva just plowed right through him, and he's winning the heat. We said he was slow, and here he is winning the heat. Obviously, because of the misfortune of the others, but Seymour's transferring as well in second place. He's loving this.
Well, it's not over yet. We still have 1 lap to go. You know Matt Kingsbury's going to be fuming inside that car 21. Very hot-headed, the man from Connecticut. Really opposite of his brother Ray. Ray's very quiet and kind of soft. Won't be too mad at you. You make Matt mad. It's not a good time. It's going to be a battle for the transfer spot. We got connection issues on Seymour here. Hopefully he doesn't drop out before he makes the final. If he does, Seymour has not made a final in the NASA RallyCross Challenge, I don't believe. Inside, Kingsbury on Seymour is going to have 1 corner left. Sindre Silva is going to pull the horseshoe out of somewhere that doesn't shine, apparently, and win heat number 3. We focus on our transfer. Travis Seymour, Matt Kingsbury, contact. Kingsbury can't get it done, and Seymour transfers in Crandon.
Oh, I thought Kingsbury was going to give him a bit more of the bumper than that, but pretty respectful in the end from him. And Seymour finds his way into the final, first time this season. I bet he's pumped up in that car.
Get ready for, I want to say there's only 1 LCQ, so it's a B main here in Crandon. As Magnus Okenhaug, Adam Rosales, Matt Kingsbury, Marwan Moftad, Jeff Mathis, Bodie Cryer, Diane Feldman, and Tim Brokaw. Wow,
Josh,
let's take a second to catch our breath here.
It's going to be a pretty mental race, Josh. There's a lot of quick cars in this LCQ, because obviously there's a bit of chaos in Heat 3. It's going to be interesting to see which ones of them can transfer and which ones of them can't.
So, remember, when we only have 3 heat races, because it's only 2 cars per race, those are the only cars that transfer. And as a result, I think we're only going to have 2 cars transfer out of this race instead of the 4. 8 across for the Land Rush and the starting line here in Wisconsin. Green flag for 5 laps in the LCQ. Who gets the better line off the start? Magnus hits no dirt. Marwan gets turned by Mathis nearly, and Magnus to the race lead. Kingsbury as Brokaw gets into the first corner to start the race. Magnus goes out really wide in the 26, trying to run the berm. Cryer to the inside, side by side for the race lead is Kingsbury in third over the jump to turn 2.
Yeah, you know who's right behind Cryer? Matt Kingsbury, and obviously those two just make contact in Heat 3. I feel like Kingsbury, he's going to give him the chrome horn here. He's not too happy. He should have been in the final. Excuse me. He should have been in the final already, but obviously that contact put him out of it, so I feel like he's just going to move Cryer out the way and get his way forward.
Into the first lap, we have Magnus, Cryer, Kingsbury, Moftaw, Feldman, Brokaw, Mathis, and Rosales in 8th. Rosales disconnected and then reconnected, but I think he missed the start here, so the 58, sorry, not going to be able to transfer. This battle for the transfer spot getting better and better as the corners go on. Magnus just has to focus out the windshield, not out of the mirror. And Cryer has to make sure that Matt Kingsbury can't get to the back bumper of that 92.
Right, as you say that, the 21 almost got him there. They were separated by maybe inches into that hairpin. I think he's going to keep doing this over and over again until he gets onto that bumper.
This track reminds me of Wild Horse. Not so much Wild West because of the long straights, but Wild Horse, very tricky because it's short straights and hairpins, and if you park the car in the apex, you can power it out, and that looks like what Cryer's doing. But Kingsbury on the outside in the 21, trying to ride the cushion, get the crossover there. They're both into the dirt. Magnus still loves this. Gap up front has not changed. He was 45.695. It was a 1.5 second gap as we still focus on our transfer. Cryer out wide. Kingsbury tries to get to him. Saves it in the 21, but he almost turned him or turned himself, depending on how you see it.
Yeah, it was good car control from the both of them. Obviously, Kingsbury got a little bit more unsettled than Cryer did, but really good car control, even though they only made slight contact. I was expecting a bit more, but good job from him to save it here and give himself a chance to still transfer here.
Yeah. Trying so hard as Marwan Moftaw trying to get into the picture here with 2 laps to go in the LCQ. All Magnus can do is act like he's running hot laps and not worry about the cars behind him. Good line for Cryer through turn 1. Over the jump, they both go down to turn 3. Once again, the corner's getting crossed up. Cryer out wide again. Can Kingsbury try and get the grip through the middle of the corner, off the corner? Can't get it done, and Cryer still holds the advantage.
Speaking of Oakenhawk needing to just set hot laps, he needed to do the same thing as first heat, and we saw what happened there. I'm not trying to jinx him, but you don't know what can happen in this race. I feel like he's just as mistake-prone as any of these other guys battling.
As Oakenhawk leads on the white flag, we're going to have 1 lap to transfer one of these cars, and it's Cryer versus Kingsbury, and I can't tell you who's going to do it. Really out wide near the gantry there was Kingsbury into turn number 2. Want to run it real wide, try not to get into the cushion. Over
Turn
the jump
3.
down to turn 3.
Turn 3 is Kingsbury's best corner. I think he might have a chance here. He's really close.
Locks it up down in the corner. Slide job, as Dale Jr. would say, but he can't get it done. Crossover with Cryer, side by side, over the final jump to the final corner. Magnus out and away from the rest of the field. I think he's going to get it done, but we focus on this battle for the transfer. Moftaw's there, can't get it done. Nor can Cryer. Kingsbury transfers in Wisconsin. Best of the rest is Cryer in 9th. 10th place will be Moftaw. 11th, Feldman. 12th, Brokaw. 13th, as it looks like, will be Mathis, and 14th will be Rosales. I'm going to go eat some pizza, take a couple minutes for a breather as we get ready for the final in Wisconsin.
Oh, and what a crazy LCQ that was. Probably one of the closest battles we've had all season for a transfer spot. You didn't really know who had it until they finally crossed the finish line. What do you think of it, Vic?
Absolutely, and I think all of the heats, for that matter, have been absolutely bonkers and off the walls. I know that's what we said going into this, and I didn't expect it to be this crazy, but here we are. It is that crazy, as we see Sindri Silva, who had been complaining basically the entire night about the track, said this was just not his thing. Here he is, in the final with a heat win.
Yeah, obviously a bit of luck went his way, but you see, he still made the final, and he's got a perfect chance to break a few records with Apex. 10 wins in a row in a season. Nobody has done that, obviously, as Josh has mentioned.
Yeah,
MRT has
absolutely.
only managed 9 wins in a single season.
Yeah, and I know I mentioned it in behind the scenes, but Travis Seymour, he was supposed to be in the booth tonight, but last minute was able to get to the track, courtesy of Matt Kingsbury, and Matt's kind of been helping him out tonight, and here he is in the final. So
yeah, it's kind of ironic that Seymour almost cost Matt a transfer spot, and Matt's the one who helped him even show up tonight.
Yeah.
It would have been a bit of a punch in the gut to Matt, but obviously I feel like he'd still be a bit happy to see Travis make it in the final. Everyone's
Absolutely.
a Travis Seymour fan. He's a really chill dude, and I don't think anybody dislikes him in the paddock.
I mean, I would say you'd be hard pressed to find anybody that dislikes Travis Seymour. They might dislike a little bit of his aggressive driving style, but off the track, what a good person to be around. As right now, as you can see, looks like Jason Hook fastest right now. We've only had 2 cars out on track take a time, but a 45.7 for Hook. That was faster than Silva's entire time in his heat number 3, that is.
Yeah, I think a bit of that comes down to the track evolution, but at the same time, Silva just hasn't been on the pace at this track. There's no way around it, really. Subarus seem to just be quicker than the Beetles and Fiesta here, as we see a nice battle between Hook and Seymour here.
Yeah, that's Jason Hook in the 137, currently topping the charts. And just as I say that, Magnus Okenhog to the top, just transferred out of the OCQ, won the OCQ actually, and he's going to be looking to come from the rear. Well, not really the rear, because they all start.
Side.
Yeah, from the side, I guess. From the furthest, well, it would be alright, but driver's left of the starting grid here, because I believe the further out to the left you are, the lower seed you are. And I believe it's going to be a 10 wide start tonight.
8 wide. There's
8
only 8
wide.
cars in the
Only
final.
8 car final. That is correct. So yeah, an 8 wide start, just like we saw in the LCQ. That's going to be something else.
Yeah, speaking about the start, kind of had a precursor to it in the LCQ. If you were a driver, which row do you think you'd want to start in? Because it seems like the middle is probably the slowest, but if you're on the corners, you really got something cooking.
I mean, honestly, if I couldn't get the first inside starting position, and obviously I don't know much about racing in general because I am not good at it, but for me, from what I've seen tonight, it looks like you want to be on the inside lane, but if you can't get there, be on the far outside and get to the dirt, which is actually normally part of the long course. Obviously, we're using the short course tonight, but get to that long course dirt on your left side and just punch it and try to get around everybody, swing around the outside like we saw, I believe it was Bodie Cryer do. And he was able to get right up in the mix and almost get a transfer position before being passed on the final lap by Matt Kingsbury.
Yeah, he went from technically 8th on the grid to 2nd by the time they actually merged onto the course. It was really impressive start from him.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that a lot of that has to do with his off-road truck experience. I know we were talking about it before the race got underway tonight. That was his, this is kind of his wheelhouse. And these guys took it to him and were able to make something happen. But
Yeah,
currently,
it's a bit of a shame for him that he couldn't make the final, because he showed a lot of pace throughout qualifying and his heats. Just a bit of contact kind of threw him off course, and he has to settle for 11th, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think when we come to these tracks next season, we can really expect a lot from him.
And right as we finish up warm-up, fastest man on track, John Dipple, the LRL cars, is showing the way here. Silva in 3rd, so Silva's finally found his niche here. As the checkered flag is out in the warm-up, we'll go ahead and throw it back to Josh Mertz up in the booth with Phil alongside.
Get ready for the finale here of the Simracer Coin NASA RallyCross Challenge in 2020B. Pole position will be, once I pull it up, Jason Hook, John Dipple, Sindre Silva, Sabian Raxter, Ray Kingsbury, Travis Seymour, Magnus Okenhaug, Matt Kingsbury. You'll notice on our timing for a couple of moments that it will have Cryer and Mofta, but those two drivers will not be participating here today. The championships might be sealed, but like I said, the Endurance Cup still well and truly open. Silva versus Okenhaug. And realistically, Silva now has a 5-point lead in that championship, so we won't make too much of a stink about it. But Jason Hook, I think, has the best line down into turn number 1 until he gets to the corner.
Yeah, let's keep our eyes on Okenhaug and Kingsbury, because that outside line's just as good as the inside.
As we get ready in Crandon for the land rush of round 10, off the line, Sindre gets a better run than anybody else. Dipple alongside him, sideways in the 34, but Hook in the 137 is going to take the spot down to turn number 1. Contact with Silva and Okenhaug, and the champion-elect is out, essentially, on lap number 1. Again, it happened to him. Kingsbury off the course there in the 25 off camera, and Jason Hook battling with John Dipple, Sabian Ragster, Magnus Okenhaug, Travis Seymour, as Matt Kingsbury gets hit by Seymour, and Okenhaug gets hit by Seymour as well, and the Kingsbury brothers come together with the 26, and Sindre's gonna love this. Off the course is the 25. I can't even keep up. But Jason Hook, at the end of the first lap, leads in Crandon.
Yeah, Sindre is loving all these incidents in the back of the grid, but obviously any Apex Academy fans, they're not loving this really. They were hoping that the team could get 10 wins out of 10, but Sindre Silva, he got spun on the end of the land rush, and he's kind of eliminated from it, but he's 5 seconds off the lead. We'll have to see what he can do over these 10 laps.
Let's remember, 10 laps in this final. Hook and Dipple. And Ragster, what a podium if the race ended after 1 lap. Seymour in 4th, Matt Kingsbury, Okenhaug, and Sindre Silva. Okenhaug runs it wide, gets clipped by the 63, checked him in turn 3. And Magnus is going to be really upset against that 63, and really against Seymour as well. And you know, when the Scandinavians get mad, they certainly will not be very friendly on the racetrack. Battle for the race lead up front. Hook battling with Dipple side by side. The gap at the line was 0.3 of a second. Hook sliding it into turn 2. Dipple to the inside. The Briton ahead of the Australian nearly can't get it done, so it's Australian v Britain. Still side by side into turn number 3. What a handbrake pull by the 137 into the corner. Way wide, misses the apex, but it's okay because if you carry your momentum through the corner, it pushes you out further with a better run as Ragster trying to reel these guys in.
We're going to have Dipple looking to the inside of Hook there, and it looks like he's kept control of it a bit better, but Hook recovers mid-corner, and he looks like he's going to maintain the lead there as Savian Ragster.
As Hook runs it wide in turn 1. As he had a really awful jump, and Dipple to the race lead. Ragster in 3rd, and Sindre Silva in 4th. Kingsbury, Okenhaug, Seymour, and Ray Kingsbury. That's our running order. Sindre's getting close, but I don't suspect that his Volkswagen stablemate here, Ragster, is going to move over easy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Sindre can pull away, because there's kind of a gaggle of 4 cars just right behind Sindre, and if he gets caught up with them, it's Hulk goes for the lead on Dipple. He's going to take that top spot back.
I feel really bad interrupting you when they come together nearly, but these 3 under a blanket. Kingsbury got by Sindre. I'll take a look off monitor here. I think he dove it in. Kingsbury dove it in and checked him into turn number 3. Ragster spins from 3rd. So now Matt Kingsbury's in a podium spot, and Sindre Silva trying to get that podium spot. Dipple pulls away from Jason Hook here in the 137 as we get close to cross flags. So hard to keep up with all this, but Savian Ragster, what could have been?
Yeah, it's a real shame for him. He definitely had the pace to challenge those top 2. It looked like he was really closing in when they started battling, but an unfortunate spin. I feel like there might have been a bit of contact between him and Hook. Maybe a little check, and we'll have to look back at the replay after the race to see what happened, but really unfortunate to see him down in 8th.
The reverse entry that I caught on the monitor for Jason Hook was ridiculous because he made the corner, and I think he gained time on Dipple. Let's take a look. He absolutely did, and I stand corrected. I'm a liar. 6/10 lost last lap.
Yeah, but
he does it again in the 137.
You can't fault him. He's going balls to the wall. He really wants this win here. He sees it right in front of him.
And you know what I think of I think, honestly, that this is like the Italian Grand Prix of F1. We had the Alpha Tauri leading that race ahead of the Mercedes. Now you have John Dibble, who doesn't run the full season. Hook's a new driver. Kingsbury all ahead of Silva here, who's dominated everything. Side by side for the podium. I'll finish my point in a second. Sindre now in the middle with Ogenhaug sneaking in, and Kingsbury holds the spot. But the fast car out of position here. Inside on Kingsbury, gets it done. Kingsbury's going to have the momentum. No, he doesn't, because he shuts the door on the 21, does the 63. Hook ran it wide again in the 137 as we take 4 laps to go. Now Kingsbury tries to get this podium spot back, or will Sindre be able to claw this gap? But Phil, it is 5 seconds for the champion-elect.
That was perfectly executed just to go back a bit for Sindre Silva. He got past Kingsbury, saw that Kingsbury was going to try the crossover, and he just parked down the apex. It's something you usually see in, like, well, track racing usually, not RallyCross, but really well executed. Now he gets a chance to chase these top 2 down, as he was 3/10 quicker on that last lap.
Kingsbury and Ogenhaug close as well. I can't tell you who's going to win this race with 3 laps to go. Anything can happen, and I know I say that with every race, but look at this cluster for third. Hopefully we can focus on it. As Kingsbury, Ogenhaug, and Sindre Silva all on top of each other. Ogenhaug very mad at all the guys involved with today's race as he slips into the 4th spot. Will he give a little bump to the 63 if he gets there?
Looks like Matt Kingsbury's looking to give a little bit of bump as well. He gave a little bit of a tap to the to the 26 there. We'll have to see if that heats up a bit over these next few laps. As looks like Magnus is going to try to pull away and close the gap on Sindre. Obviously, they made a bit of contact off the start, so we'll have to see what happens between them as well.
As Matt dove it into turn 3, couldn't get it done, but he had a great run into that corner. We're going to take 2 laps to go in the season and the race for John Dipple in the 34. Can he spoil the Apex Racing party in 2020B? And let's take off the commentator hat for a moment, Phil. Our record will stay unless Sindre can get something done.
Yeah, for our sake, thank God John Dipple exists, but for any Apex fan, it's a real shame. Obviously, it looks like if they keep in the order they will, Sindre's going to get 100% podium rate this season, but not 100% wins.
Nonetheless, Magnus dives it in again. Can't get it done as we come to the white flag for John Dipple. I have to correct you, last week he did not finish on the podium in Daytona, so our record will stand for podiums all season. Dipple takes the white flag ahead of Hook, ahead of Sindre Silva and Magnus Ogenhaug, and this battle isn't over for third.
Yeah, we know Ogenhaug is probably the quickest driver on track. He topped warm-up, he topped qualifying, and we'll have to see how desperate he gets against Silva really to get this podium, because he's not really racing anyone in points, so.
As we look at Dipple, gap is 3.5 seconds for the British driver ahead of Jason Hook. Sindre Silva in third, Magnus in fourth. We'll have to look in the final corner to see what happens, but John Dipple spoils the Apex Racing Academy, and he wins in Crandon for his first career victory in the Simracer Coin NASA RallyCross Challenge. Hook finishes in second for a debut podium. Sindre Silva comes home in third and will win the Endurance Cup ahead of Ogenhaug, Matt Kingsbury. Travis Seymour in his first final comes home in sixth. Savian Ragster, what could have been for the 91, comes home in seventh, and Ray Kingsbury, also what could have been after crashing, or getting taken out rather, on that first lap in the 25. Wow, what a race in Crandon. Everyone was not kidding when they said it'd be action-packed.
Yeah, what a race. Probably the race of the season, in my opinion. I don't know how high you rate it, but that was crazy. It was battles all race long. I apologize for a bit of a graphics issue there. But it seems to have resolved itself now for the final order.
Let's take a breather, and we'll pull in our third place man, Sindre Silva. We'll put him there. We'll put Hook in the waiting room as well. Unless he is, there we go. We'll try and pull him. Wonderful thing of Discord here. So, I will let one of you guys handle this. We'll bring in our third place man, champion-elect. Well, not champion-elect anymore. Officially, the 2020B Simracer Coin NASA RallyCross Challenge champion, and also the 2020B Endurance Cup champion. Gentlemen, play rock, paper, scissors and figure it out.
All right, I think rock, paper, scissors, I win is going to be the case here. Sindre, third place tonight, man. And that's, I mean, I obviously going into this, I know you didn't think that it was going to be a good race for you. You had that spin in turn 1 there on the start. Well, actually, it really wasn't turn 1, but in the first corner there, you were able to rebound for third. Obviously, from what we could see, it was an insane race for you. How was it from your perspective, man?
Really tough. Spun out twice in the start now, and yeah, it was a hard and tough task. With the Beetle out there, it's not the car that suits this track, to be honest. But yeah, it was a hard task, and people trying to murder you from behind. But yeah, it's what it is.
Yeah, it seemed really hard, especially from my perspective. And of course, you just mentioned it, just touched on it a little bit. The Beetle really wasn't meant for this track. Looks like the Subarus had the advantage on you all night long, but you're able to bring it home third. Go ahead and tell us a little bit more about why the Beetle is like that. Was it just because of the wheelbase, or what caused that?
I'm not that technical guy that knows all these things, but I think it is the same reason as the Subaru is really OP on the fresh tracks and stuff. The gravel and the loose gravel bits are just suiting the Subaru better than the Beetle and every other car. But yeah, it can be the car, it can be my driving style on this track. I'm not used to driving around a horse track or what this is, but no, it's tough for sure.
Yeah, definitely difficult. And to come out of this one with a third place finish after being, I believe it was 8th or 9th in seeding, what did you find? Where did you find that pace at? Obviously you're so far down in order, or did you just kind of luck into it, do you think?
I think consistency and not trying to go for gaps where you know it's gonna be a battle. I saw the two cars behind me was battling all over. They lost, so like I had a top qualifier in behind me, and I don't know where Matt qualified, but he was up there as well, and these guys really was almost a second faster than me around this track. So when they're battling so much, I don't know if they know it, but they're gonna lose a lot of time doing that. So I think that helped me a lot. And as a World Championship driver, you need to learn to have consistency, and that's what I've been working on the past 3 weeks. Just being consistent on the times, and I think my consistency was the bit that really puts everything together here.
Well, before we let you go, we gotta ask you the question we ask you every week. Who do you have to thank for this result tonight?
Apex Racing Academy for putting down the effort on helping me with my driving style, everything. Their sponsor, my own sponsor, Autoprofilering, Sheba Biluppegrej, and Alf Ulven, and of course Jake Robertson. He's not attending, but I know he's watching.
Well, thank you so much for racing tonight and being a part of this, and congratulations on the third place and officially now the 2020A, or 2020B, excuse me, NASA RallyCross Series champion.
Woohoo! Thank you guys for the broadcast, guys.
Alright, that was Sindre Silva. Now, Phil, I believe you have Jason Hook up here to interview.
Howdy, Jason Hullock, second place. You got a copy?
Yeah, mate. How are you?
Oh, doing pretty good. You got to be feeling pretty pumped after second place, first podium in NASA RallyCross.
Certainly am.
Yeah, it looked like you had the pace to win it for a bit, but a few mistakes as the race went on kind of eliminated you from, I'd say, contention to win the race. But what was it like from your perspective? Do you think you had a chance at him, or?
Oh, I think that the only chance I had was if he made a mistake. He was all over me. Once he got past me, I made a little mistake. He got under me, and that was it. I knew that I'd struggle to keep up with him, and then it was really checking that mirror, seeing how far a few of the really fast guys are away from me. I got a great start, so that always helps.
Yeah, luckily for you, there was pretty big mess behind you for third place between Silva, Oakenhog, and Kingsbury. So kind of just let you settle into second place and ride home for your first podium of the season. But you've been consistently improving your results week on week in the NASCAR Rallycross Challenge. If you keep this up, now that you've got a second place, if you keep this going, you'll be winning the first race of 2021A. Do you think you can do it?
Oh, we'll have to see, won't we? But every race is different, mate, and I certainly don't have any real expectations of doing that. But there's a few guys here that are a hell of a lot quicker than I am. But every race is different.
Yeah, but why not shoot for the stars? Am I right? Congratulations again on your second place. Is there anybody you'd like to thank for this?
I'd like to thank Tim and Di from R Designs and iDrive Sim Training, my partners in crime, for the DGR. And without their help, we wouldn't be what we are today. And also like to thank NASA SimCoin Rallycross Challenge. It's been awesome for the short time that I've been a part of it.
I gotta say, this is completely off topic, but I really like the little ring you got going there for iDrive Sim. It's really catchy. I think you'll get a lot of people into it with that. But once again, congratulations on your second place.
Thank you very much.
So we'll move in our race winner, John Dipple. First career win in the NASCAR Rallycross Challenge. Congratulations, John.
Thank you. It's been a long time coming getting a podium this season, but it's been so difficult with the Apex guys.
Yeah, and obviously you haven't been able to run the whole season, which kind of hurts your chances. Your fifth race of the season, race win. How you feel about it?
To start with, I want to thank you, Phil, because I actually used one of your setups for, I think it was Wild West, and I just modified it a little bit, and me and Magnus were really hooked up on that. We seem to find loads of grip.
Yeah, at least someone can make those work, because I sure couldn't drive them, but obviously y'all made it work. Magnus, honestly, he looked like a bit of the favorite, even though he didn't make it through his heat and he had to go through the LCQ. Were you ever worried about him in the back of your head as the race went on, or was it just kind of fully focused on Jason Hoek and getting the lead away from him and just pulling away?
Me and Magnus, we're good mates, but we've got a really good rivalry as well, so we always push each other. We've been exactly the same pace for all the practicing. But yeah, I just completely blanked out. I had a little battle with Jason at the start, and that was really close. But as soon as I got past him, I just got my head down, created a gap, just so I knew I was a bit safe there.
Yeah, it definitely looked like y'all were having a ball out there, and we're definitely looking forward to bringing this track back next season, because in my humble opinion, it was probably the best race of the season, even though I know I would have stunk it up if I was driving it. But
yeah,
again, congratulations on your win.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Is there anybody you'd like to thank sponsors-wise, or?
I want to thank Brandon Lambert for doing our liveries. We don't have any sponsors, but yeah, and thanks to you for that setup. It worked a treat.
Maybe I'll have to send you all more so you can win more races.
Hopefully.
Good job, man. First
Cheers.
win. Build
Cheers,
off
guys.
of it. You got it.
Wow. That's all I really want to say. As we started this journey 10 weeks ago, gentlemen, I know it was me and Victor Valley. Phil didn't join us until later on in the season, but the live shows throughout this season, I consider driving tonight's race, and it makes me realize that as much as I've won and you have won, it's time to step aside. And we have the new drivers with the new guard, because we remember we had the original iRacing contingent, and even with the pro driver Asindre Silva, the Apex squad could not get it done for 10 races out of 10. And again, the record stays the same. I mean, I could go on for ages about how this race was, but I just want to hear what you guys think.
Just a quick note that has absolutely nothing to do with the race, but Asindre Silva, I think he won the championship by almost 60 points. That I feel like that's a record. Correct me if I'm wrong, record boy.
That's higher than yours, yeah, because you locked it up a couple seasons ago with 40. So that is the record, 60 points unofficially. Of course, we'll get those details later, but continue.
Yeah, but that aside, probably the best race of the season in my opinion. There wasn't really ever a dull moment. If someone stopped battling somewhere, there was another battle going on somewhere else. Definitely, we have to go back here. The Land Rush start it's a completely different thing, but it's kind of a throwback to the NR days. Obviously, we didn't do 8 wide starts, but we did like 4 wide starts, something like that. It's kind of similar, right?
I'll say this on air. I know we're running a little long. I remember Proving Ground South in Colorado when we had that start under the jump past the grandstands. That's exactly what I'm thinking about when I see this start. We were 4 wide for a mile before we could get to the first corner. Victor, you got anything before we wrap up?
Well, gosh, I mean, I think this race kind of is the epitome of the season, and it kind of shows how good the season was, and kind of sums it all up. It shows that everything, every race this year has been exciting, but this takes the cake. Absolutely takes the cake. Again, those starts, as you guys were mentioning, probably the best I've seen on this simulator. I mean, I just hope we can do this with come back next year and do the same thing and have another great race here.
As of course, we'll keep you posted throughout the social channels, Twitter, Facebook, all those things, iRacing Forum, through the Discord, for the dates of the 2021A Simracer Coin NASA RallyCross Challenge. But for the next 6 weeks, we will have the 2020C, unofficially, GT America Series, presented by NASA Sim Racing, Spark VR, all those partners there. A little bit different thing for the Automotive Sports Network, but you will hopefully have Victor Valley and Travis Seymour in the commentary box for those races. So make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, ring that bell, all the things the YouTubers like to say. But from all of us here at the Automotive Sports Network, all season long, Dylan Body, Victor Valley, Philip Kraus, all of NASA Sim Racing, Miguel Gomez for Simracer Coin, all of our partners, it's been an amazing 21st season and an amazing first season live on the Automotive Sports Network. If you're not going to join us for GT Americas, that's totally fine. We will see you on January 6th for round number 1 of NASA RallyCross in 2021A. Otherwise, we'll see you next week in Watkins Glen for the debut of GT Americas. But until then, so long, everyone.